Welcome back to Culture and Code, the podcast where we talk about technology and the humans brave enough to innovate with it. I'm your host, Rayfield Johnson Jr.
And I'm your co-host, Nina Arora Rowland. Today's episode is for everyone who said, let's do AI, and then immediately asked, which tool do we buy?
100%. Today we're talking about AI process, governance, and why hardening the foundation matters more than spinning up new technology.
Or put another way, why AI initiatives fail before the first model is even trained.
That's right. So let's start off by getting it out of the way that AI doesn't fail because the tech is bad.
It fails because the operating model is undefined.
Yep. Sorry, had to take a drink of my Starbucks tea, the sponsor for this week. Um, Organizations, they rush to deploy copilots, agents, and models.
Without answering the basic questions like who owns the decisions? What does good look like? What risks are acceptable? And how do humans stay in the loop?
Yeah. Another big question that I see companies not answering is how much experimentation are we willing to invest in as well? And it's
Yeah.
another very big part of the conversation because, technology just exposes the cracks faster.
Mhm.
The people, the process, and the technology and decisions, right, are still the cornerstone of effective transformation for organizations.
So let's take this moment to reframe governance.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that. I'm going to sit back as you try to fix this branding problem.
So you can sip your tea.
Exactly. Exactly.
AI governance, it's decision architecture, not compliance theater.
And I agree with you. It's especially with agentic AI, where systems can observe, they reason, and they act.
And in the microsystem, which Rayfield and I are entrenched in, tools like Microsoft Purview, Fabric, and Copilot give you enforcement, but governance defines intent.
Yeah. Without governance in that situation, in all situations, we're really going to, run into model drift, outputs lose credibility, the trust erodes, right? The biggest thing about trust eroding is that once the trust is eroded, as a program, a project or organization, you're fighting against yourself to bring that trust back. And then if the trust does erode, and it leads to our last point, which is leaders are going to start to disengage, right? If they start disengaging, then there's pretty much no hope for that project. It might even just have to be spun up as something different. But those like you want to avoid like trust eroding and you want to avoid the leaders disengaging altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you prevent leaders from disengaging? Well, you got to protect the confidence, and governance is how you do that. It's not just about protecting the data, it's also protecting the confidence.
Yeah. Also in establishing process, right? Because most
Yeah.
AI programs skip that entirely.
Yeah, or they assume that agile rituals will magically cover it.
It's magic, like Harry Potter. Uh, AI process answers questions like when does a human override the system? How do insights turn into action? How are models reviewed, retired, or retrained? And lastly, how do agents escalate uncertainty?
Yeah, and in Microsoft-based platforms, AI can execute process.
But right now, and they're just executing, the humans must design it.
Yeah, otherwise you get fast answers with no accountability.
Yeah, I know some people that we've worked with. A lot of fast answers, no accountability.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. The buying AI part is easy, but it doesn't make you a leader. It just gives you an opportunity to spend money.
Absolutely. Defining how AI fits into decision making, that does make you a leader.
Yeah. Especially when you think about thought leadership and what that means. It's saying no to shiny tools, even though there's a lot of pressure to buy it. It's
Mhm.
sequencing maturity intentionally. It's designing for trust and not speed alone. And then once you do get to the point where you're going to invest in something, you're investing in capability and not just software.
Exactly. And this is where AI leadership lives. It's not in the prompts, but it's rooted in the principles.
All right. So now we're at our fun part of the conversation where we do our Marvel quote moment. So far, I think this will fit perfectly into what we've been talking about so far.
Yep. This one is from Vision in Avengers Age of Ultron. Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict, and conflict breeds catastrophe.
Yeah. This one was a little bit like lackluster on your end. I remember in the last podcast, you're like, Peggy Carter. And I'm like, I don't think it requires all that, Nina. And you're like yelling at the top of your lung. But anyway,
Vision
um,
is calming. He's
yeah,
got a calming presence.
yeah. And unfortunately, that quote is, coming from Vision, but it is it's AI in one sentence, right?
Exactly.
It completely is, right? Go ahead.
Exactly. The more powerful the system, the more important that foundation is.
Yep, the foundation, but remember the governance, the process, and human oversight aren't optional. They're stabilizers for that.
Absolutely. AI doesn't eliminate the need for talent, it raises the bar.
And by raises the bar, and going back to how we hire people, as we spoke
Yeah.
about on other podcasts, you're looking for people who are going to interpret nuance, they're going to apply judgment, they're going to lead through ambiguity, and then they're going to balance that risk and reward.
Yep, absolutely. And the most successful AI programs invest in data literacy, ethical reasoning, product thinking, and cross-functional leadership.
Yeah, I think ethical reasoning is the big one.
Absolutely.
Because we all know that AI is going to scale the intelligence. Think about someone who's unethical being in the control of that, right?
Skynet.
Um, you still need the humans to define that wisdom, that ethical piece, that product thinking, decision making, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, AI scales the intelligence, but humans define that wisdom, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, if you remember one thing from this episode, let it be this, that AI success is built before implementation begins.
Absolutely. And governance defines those guardrails.
Yeah, process defines accountability.
And people define outcomes.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This has been a really easy episode. Um, you know, Thanks for listening to Culture and Code.
Please share your comments with us and feedback. We're always listening using the hashtag Culture and Code Podcast. And in our next episode, we'll talk about AI operating models and how teams actually change when AI becomes embedded.
Yep. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to
Until
say something.
then,
Yeah, until then, see you next time.